Hey y'all, this is Claire. Welcome to our August Vibrational Upgrading Clearings and Activations call. While we're in shock at all the events recently and particularly of today, especially in Afghanistan, against our American service members, our brothers and sisters, as well as our Afghan allies and around the world, we're wanting to focus this call toward clearings and activations that will really help us all and our consciousness so that our collective lives turn toward the light. With recent events, it is a challenge to resist the tentacles that tether us to the past, whether it be habits, shock, grief, trauma, at the collective or the individual level, and holding on to that does not serve us or raise us up. I want to thank you all for showing up on behalf of your own soul, of your higher selves' behalf, and as well as for the collective. During this week of the full Aquarius moon, we've had a record number of new folks joining our Facebook group, Vibrational Upgrade, Sustain a High Vibe and Access Your Magic. Record numbers of people are actively seeking, doing the work, and raising themselves up to the light. So welcome all. Happy you're here with us to grow. And Dr. Allison will hear from some of you tonight who want a chance to get some laser one-on-one support. Before Dr. Allison begins, I want to share her background with those of you who are newer to this call tonight. I just wanted to share some of Allison's background, and I know some of you are well-versed in it. I see lovely people like Shannon here and Pamela and Gwen and Rupert, everyone, so many people here that I recognize. So anyway, so after Allison got her master and bachelor's degree, she wanted to focus her energy on a career in politics with the goal to improve the environment through conservation. And she was completely passionate about it. But at that time in the early 90s, the machine of the government and big businesses really heavily invested in mining and fossil fuels and oil and all that stuff. And she realized that was too big of an obstacle for herself and her progressive thoughts to get through. So she took her mission elsewhere and decided to focus one-on-one, one person at a time. And so she left this western side of the earth and hemisphere, and she headed over to the east to study subtle energy. And she started teaching in the public school system over there. She was doing energy medicine and wellness sessions on the side. And she spent a full 10 years over there in Asia and learned so much. When she returned back in the States, she was armed with even more magic and energy than she realized at the time. So this formulated the basis for her vibrational upgrade system. She's been practicing, Allison, as a mind-body energy healer for more than 25 years and has been working in yoga, meditation, qigong, energy medicine, mind-body fitness, nutrition, longevity, and holistic health. She's the only one that I'm aware of who really understands the flow of energy and how to flow energy from the physical body to the plane of the universe. She's a total pioneer in the field of energy medicine and consciousness and is known by her peers as a thought leader. And as I mentioned earlier, she spent a decade in Asia studying subtle energy, so she is a complete expert in the field. She's got her PhD as a holistic life coach and a certification as a behavioral change specialist. She's considered to be one of the leading experts in her field, and even more specifically on using the chakra system as a roadmap for thriving in the mind, body, and spirit while applying it in a unique way. And due to this background, she's been able to share the stage and collaborate with thought leaders like Bruce Lipton, David Wolf, Joe Vitale, Krishna Das, Bob Proctor, Greg Braden, David Wilkes, and Reverend Michael Beckwith. In addition to her vast collaborative network, Dr. Allison is an internationally best-selling author. Her books include What If There's Nothing Wrong? That was her first book. And then she wrote Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss, Easing Humanity's Evolutionary Transition. That was endorsed by Yogi Amrit Desai, who is the founder of the Kripalu Yoga Institute and a client. And her next book was Reasonable Dragons, How to Activate the Field of Possibilities Where Logical Magic is the New Normal. That was endorsed by both Bob Proctor and Joe Vitale, and that's available via Audible. We're waiting for her next book, which just came out in January, called The Dragon Master Creatrix, Conversations with a Female Spiritual Teacher for These New Times, to be put in Audible. Hint, Allison. It's really fun because it's a story about a woman who travels to a retreat to be trained in energy medicine, and she learns all about sacred sites and stone circles and how to work with them all, as well as dragons, and how to help the earth and humanity. And coincidentally, Dr. Allison and her mastermind students will be gathering in Glastonbury, UK, which is known as the heart chakra of the planet, in just a bit over a month for a very special retreat time. And it's really going to be special because getting back together in person is been long overdue. So everyone's thrilled and excited for that and what's going to come about from that. But did you join, Dr. Allison? I think I heard you ding in. Welcome.
Hi, I've joined in. I would love to just listen to you talk more. That's not
I can blab on, but I have to tell you, my call got dropped, so I was stuck for a few minutes trying to get back in, and everyone's very patient, so I appreciate that, everyone. I don't know what happened. Weird.
Yep, all good. Well, thank you. All good, it sounds like, and I totally heard your inference there, not pretty much direct request about the next Audible book. So more chat on that to come. Yeah,
and maybe like some supplemental chapters based upon what happens in this upcoming retreat. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Seeing as you mentioned that, y'all, the next free monthly call, the next 2 free monthly calls I'll be doing from the heart chakra of the planet, and it is gonna be they're always beautiful. The ones from there. You can hear it in my voice. They're really enriched by the sacredness of the land and being in the heart chakra of the planet, and all of the attunements that I give and the blast of light that is for me, coupled with going to the sacred sites. It takes me quite a while when I return to the States after these retreats to integrate from being out on all the land. It's just incredible. So I'm excited to finally do this in person. It's going to be interesting because of the COVID restrictions, and we're going to get into that tonight. So just to kick back and let yourself receive, because some of these are for you too, if not all of them. So I know that there's fatigue with COVID, and I know I'm going to just let myself rip here. So welcome all the new folks. I'm glad that you've joined in. Welcome back to all of you beloved, loyal peeps. It's so good to be with you again. I know that, and I'll get into this a little bit later, I've been receiving, as if the universe is trying to get me a message, quite a lot of feedback in just the past couple of days. And I've known this throughout the years, but how people have benefited from this free monthly call and been using it to enrich their lives. I mean, I have probably like 100 testimonials through the years. They're all over the website, but they're not all there about what just even one call has done for people. So it's good to be back together in the sacred space. I know that I'm not totally sure how this wants to get said, this first bit here. That's what I meant by I'm just going to let myself rip and see what comes through. As many of you have likely seen this week in the free Vibrational UPgrade Facebook group or on my Facebook business page, I have each day and even before during the weekend under the full moon been receiving messages. I usually do a couple of days, if not at the least, just the day before. I spend time tuning into what you all need, who are going to be showing up on the call, and what the collective needs, so that we can, by you guys getting there, being here, making this great choice, by being here, you're receiving the clearings and activations. You'll be shifted, and that will help the collective shift. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for who you be on this planet, because you help facilitate healing that's not even just for you. And I don't frequently use the word healing, but right now there is healing that's wanted by this beloved humanity on our planet. So I have this understanding that's working itself through me in the contrast and then the similarities between the East and West in the sense of purification, like with spirituality and even religion. And I know that I saw this email from a colleague of mine, a fellow energy medicine practitioner with offerings. And I respect her work, and she was identifying and speaking to how much the extended pandemic, particularly in the States with it being so bad, and I'm in the worst state possible in the United States with the worst numbers right now on the West Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, and the wild, wild West of the only tropical climate and the only state in our country to never have had the Native Americans get dominated. Florida. Kind of like the wild, wild West. That's probably why I live here. A lot of other stuff that goes on here too. So she was talking about the ego's worries, the ego's, the intensification almost of the ego during the extended pandemic and because of the extended pandemic. And I found that interesting because then I went over to that element of purification. So I know that like one of the Chinese masters who I worked with, particularly in and around clearing karma, and then I also think of, Claire just talked about Amrit Desai, Guru Dev. I talk about him. My second book ends with a conversation I had with him, the founder of Kripalu, and how he also said this, and it's in the yogic premises of like when they would go historically to an ashram, it would be for purification. You'd stay there, you'd be in service, not as much from the communal perspective, but that it was a part of you burning off the non-purified parts of you, or the lower self, or the ego mind, by staying in ashrams and doing that work. And I know that like when I was learning and getting trained in Qigong, so I teach a series of 18 movements, the Qigong that I'm trained in. And I remember learning that the first move of the series of 18, young monks in training going to the Taoist temples would learn only that first movement for the full first year. And they would have to sweep and do the dishes and in a sense prove their not worth, but almost as if burning off ego in order to have the right to learn about accessing more power. And I know when getting trained, and I spent a lot of time and a lot of money getting trained on how to clear karma, it's sticky, it's persnickety, it's unlike anything else, and it just hits when it hits. And I used to see that it hit people more towards their late 30s on up to their 50s-ish, anywhere in that range. And have even said that it seems like it could have been mislabeled in the West as a midlife crisis. I see it hitting even earlier now, and I have since about the 2000s when teaching in the classroom, even high school students. So these times are really different. And what I'm wanting to say about karma is that there's a sense of there's two ways to deal with karma, to burn off bad karma, in other words, and to get through that thing that's been bugging you, that issue that you can't shake off or can't get beyond, kind of a thing, by either engaging in service or gratitude. And with the gratitude, there's a sense of forgiveness practice, and with the service, there's a sense of forgiveness practice. It's almost like a huge forgiveness plea in action, whether it's in an act of gratitude or in an act of service. But that implies more dropping down into the heart and less living from the head. And what I know about that from the culmination of all of my training and experiences in education and observations of clients moving through stuff, as well as my own being and beast, as I have meditated for decades and learning mental management and self-management of the ego mind and the nature of the ego mind, the work that I do, I actually was so surprised I pendulum this the other day, and I don't pendulum a lot. When I do, most of the time, it's to pull out my own intuitive guidance that pops from simply asking the question. And I go into training with the pendulum, actually, with my mastermind. It's actually a course in my PhD curriculum when I got a PhD as a holistic life coach. Yes, it does exist. And so I actually pendulum this the other day because I was interested, and I did the things that I teach my students to do and not to do when asking a pendulum for securing the highest level of accuracy. And so I got that, I say this with such humility. I'm going to back off for a second. I have had so many students go through magic manifestation and money flow, and then the ones who choose to go in depth and work with me in the Vibrational UPgrade Mastermind, like I've seen them move through stuff and make gains in a matter of 2 years, something that back before I put the Vibrational UPgrade system together, combining both my background in energy medicine and then in yoga and meditation teaching, 5 years. And so I'm aware that I don't use this word a lot because it just doesn't tend to land in the West and in America, particularly in any of my speech public facing before you work with me. And I don't even use it a lot when you are actively working with me. But there's a sense of purification that has to happen in somebody's system to make the flip or the inversion from being intellect dominant and intellect led, and I'm going to intertwine here in this usage, ego mind led, to then heart and spirit led. And I know that one of the things I've said frequently throughout the years has been I use the opening of the heart chakra and the activation of the heart chakra and the clearing of it as a backdoor approach to quieting the mind. I know that seeing my students get such sped up results, I mean, that's what I went to Asia for. In part, I asked, what would it take, or how do I get even more robust results for my clients while sitting there, as many of you have heard the story, so please forgive me, with my hands over a client who was getting great results, and we were both totally thrilled, and it was one of my first clients. That's when I asked that. Wow, well, how can I get even more robust results for my clients? And within months, I was moving to Asia to teach in the international school system. And so what I have ended up creating is an answer to that. And when I started to look at karma in the extended pandemic, and this colleague talking about the ego ramping up on planet Earth, in the face of what you all, especially my long-term followers, have heard me saying since like 2011, that from 2012 to 2032, it's a collapse of an old paradigm. So the old one's crumbling from about 2012-ish. I would say for some of us, it started around 2009, 2009. That was hard for me to say. And then around like 2019, we started to turn the corner. There were an increasing number of us who were at the requisite vibrational level so that we didn't have to go into a more negative path, so to speak, of destruction, and that the old paradigm that is now done has been about destruction, and the new paradigm is about construction, and we don't have the new paradigm in place yet. And I know that I cried in public, and I don't cry frequently. It's not that I have a problem with it, I just don't. But I cried in that equinox ceremony and series of clearings and activations and holding space and talking about boosting the immune system when COVID first hit the States, because of the amount of suffering it seemed like humanity required in order for this purification that I've been talking about since 2011 to happen full throttle. So what I am implying, in case you missed that, is that it seems like overall the masses hadn't done enough clearing, purification of the ego mind. That means the identity level of the mind. The lower self is another way to say that, so that we haven't gotten out of COVID as quickly as we could have. And without going into any of the political discussion or any of the evaluation of any part of it, I have not talked philosophically about why COVID has happened, because to me it was just a continuation of the clearing and purification that has been needed in order to get us to shift into the new golden era. And there have been a lot of people checking out, and I saw people checking out way before COVID, where I had been saying for years, and many of you might remember this, it seems like it's either some people just have to hit rock bottom. And then I have a different colleague who says it's change or die time. And that was way, way before COVID that he was saying that. So I asked the pendulum, coming back to that, does working, because I know I include karma in all of my clearings. You hear it nowadays in the Vibrational UPgrade clearing statement. So I was curious, with karma being so persnickety, how much does get burned off from the clearings and activations? And I got 8 times. So if you're wondering what working with me gets you, I know that like another Chinese mastermind, he talks about like increasing your spiritual virtue. And when you have that increased, everything gets easier, including your finances. So increasing your spiritual virtue is another way of saying having done that purification work. And I know when he gives his form of blessings, talks about it coming from his own virtue bank. And I know within the last, and he's been talking about that for years, I've been working with him for years. But I know in the last 3 months on a magic manifestation and money flow call, I remember doing a clearing and activation around finances and abundance. And I remember feeling like, wow, that just pulled from my own virtue bank. And I had never used that language before because I don't know that I actually believe that. I don't know that it works that way. I don't know about this virtue thing. Or this but what I do know is a balance of accounts, so to speak. And what gets the accounts balanced is this element of purification. And so I also remember Claire and I realizing this a while ago, during this past year or so, how there were so many people showing up on Open the Drawbridge calls who had a sense of wanting it to be different and weren't ready to take action on behalf of themselves. Like something was bad, but it wasn't bad enough to have them, I'm going to say it, lay down the money to invest in themselves. And I know you all have, those of you who have been around a bit, you've heard me talk about not calling myself a healer and being resistant to the fear-based marketing and always going with the inspirational marketing. And when I came out of my resistance to see and test and did more problem-focused, i.e. fear-based marketing, I ended up with people in a more victim mentality coming in. So I have held this space for over a decade now on behalf of the collective and our shift. And I do work every single day. And part of the Dragon Master level and Grand Dragon Master level very much is focused on the collective directly with techniques when I'm certifying people in Vibrational UPgrade system. And then the first 2 levels are first working on oneself, understanding energy flows in oneself and then others. But that's not to mean like you, with your heart, with your lighter vibration, isn't doing something on behalf of the collective right now by being here on this call. And again, thank you for who you be. So the collective is getting served by folks like you all. And I just want to put to you the question that you've heard me asking increasingly. Like, I don't call myself a healer. My first book's title is What If There's Nothing Wrong? Everything I do is geared towards you all having your own innate power activated and you coming from your aligned, empowered, centered presence. And I do what I have to do until you're there. Like I'll be your cheerleader and be the positive self-talk, replacing the negative self-talk increasingly as we work together. But I just see people like waiting, as if the ego mind is saying, I'm not worth investing until there's a crisis in. Not everybody does this. There's plenty of people, beautiful masterminders of past and present, for example, who want to go into depth and learn how to help others, and people who want to just lighten up and are proactive. But there's something about what's happening in the collective with COVID that relates to what I'm talking about now, with the waiting to work on oneself, spiritually progress until there's a crisis where your ego mind can't resolve it because it's perpetuated too long. And that's when you seek healing through energy medicine or quote-unquote energy work. Whereas I present it as, this is the way to get ahead of the curve. This is the way to tap into your untapped potential and live up to the fullest possibilities that are coming alive only now on planet Earth, as we open up your field and help your field then be more resonant with the greater field of unlimited possibilities, or the Tao, where your energy is doing more of the work instead of you having to write 10 emails. If you had your heart chakra and your throat chakra and your third chakra, for example, tuned in certain ways, then you would have a more receptive vibration and an emanation that includes magnetism of your desires to you, and that includes allowing yourself to receive the manifestation of those desires instead of, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, I have to work hard for it, so that your energy, your subtle energy system is doing more of the work for you in place of all of the action and making happen and that we have been entrained to with the more yang paradigm, particularly in the States. So balancing those two is one of the other outcomes that makes life a lot easier. And it just, I ask you to look at yourself and what are you waiting for? I know that I didn't mean to go into this right now, but I know that I have had those couple of stories, and I have so many clearings and activations to go into, and I do intend to get to you. So pressing *2 will help you be able to work with me, but I do want to read to you this from a person who's been on the free monthly calls so you can know how to make better use of it. Sorry for that loudness. It's really interesting. 2 people this week within the last 3 days telling me how they have used this free monthly call historically. And so this one, yep, *2. I see some of you doing it now. From the beginning, this program has been mind-blowing. So this is a woman who's now in magic, manifestation, and money flow, writing this to me within this week. From the beginning, this program has been mind-blowing. When I first started listening to Dr. Allison a few years ago, one of the first questions my ego self kept asking was, you've already spent thousands on programs with Christy Marie Sheldon and one-on-one consults with Ann Taylor and others who claim to clear karma in old belief systems, and nothing changed. So why should this time be different? And pardon me, I'm aware of both of those colleagues in their work, and they have great work. So I don't want that to detract from what her experience was. So I'm going back to reading what she wrote. At that time, I did not have the finances to join any of the programs, meeting with me. And one of your students replied to my email and suggested that I listen in and join one of your free drawbridge calls. She means this call here now. It's not a free drawbridge call. This is a free monthly call. After the first call that I listened to live, like you all are now, my life changed. At the end of that call, I felt lighter, less stressed, like I had physically taken a shower and felt clean from head to toe. I've listened to many of those free monthly calls over the years, and I'm still listening to replays of those calls. During the time I started listening to Dr. Allison regularly, I was in the middle of the biggest fight of my life. I don't know that I should read that sentence, but after who she says she was suing her old employer, she says, I felt like David standing against Goliath every day for 3 years. Some days the weight on my shoulders and being ostracized by management had me so depressed I could barely get out of bed. It took months to find a law firm that would even take my case, and then the breakthrough started coming. I received the money to retain a top-rated law firm. I received notice that my case, which had been put on hold by a federal judge, was moving forward. Eventually, I won the lawsuit and a $100,000 settlement. I credit all of that to Dr. Allison's clearings and shifting my mind to understand that the universe doesn't hate me, but supports me. So this is all before she started working with me in magic manifestation and money flow. Yeah, I know so many of you benefit from these calls. So what I feel like what would help in this moment right now, I mean, I have a list of clearings, but I'm going to, based on the response I just received, so this is where you'll want to say, I'm asking you a question. I'm about to go into a clearing and activation. You're going to want to say yes to invite the energy and more. Out loud. We just listen to how to frame this. Who would you be if you were living from the knowing that the universe has your back and that all of life is happening for you, not to you? Anything and everything that doesn't allow for that with grace and ease, would you be willing to burn up with the flames of transmutation?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
You guys are beautiful. Okay, I'm going to be silent. Yay, for a moment. So any and all karma as appropriate that is in any way blocking your ability to see that the universe has your back and all of life is happening for you, not to you, burning all of that karma up as appropriate. I feel you. All of the free-floating thoughts and traumas that have either created or perpetuate not being able to live from the universe has my back, all of life is happening for me, not to me, burning up all of those. Please inhale and exhale. A lot of you are holding. Better. All the imprints from your parents and lineage. All of the conditioning from the trance of the masses that in any way has created or perpetuates you having inability to live from the universe has my back, all of life is happening for me, not to me, burning up all of that conditioning from the trance of the masses. And all of the contracts, oaths, vows across all lifetimes and timelines and at all levels of consciousness, all beliefs, judgments, expectations, and projections that are in any way helping to create or perpetuate not being able to live from. The universe has my back. All of life is happening for me, not to me. Burning it all up now with the flames of transmutation. I'm going to go ahead and activate the upgrade now. So any and all latent keys and codes and ancient wisdom and inherent talents within you, and any and all blessings and support possible to bring this all into alignment for our highest potential and our highest possibilities, and your highest potential and your highest possibilities to become physically realized and manifest, activating the upgrade now. So looking at why you might pray or why you might use rosary beads or mala beads or go live in an ashram or even in some ways go to an ayahuasca ceremony. It's like access the more spiritual parts of you and to show your devotion. I've not talked about this before, and it was called to my conscious mind to let you know that working with me speeds all of that up. So I feel like I want to go into the exhaustion now. And this ties into what I was talking about, the COVID fatigue, but also the ego and mind of others. And we'll go into a clearing in just a minute after this around how to detach from what others are choosing that annoys the daylights out of you, what you feel like they should be choosing differently, like how to have more freedom and lightness around what others are choosing right now, especially. But I know, like, I feel as if in this last, since the Lionsgate, through the Lionsgate, I was doing lots of stuff. And by the completion of it, within a couple of days, I felt like I had, you know, the big fur coat that John Lennon is pictured wearing, I think especially when he got to New York. He was with Yoko at the time. I feel like I've thrown off a coat that heavy of projections and of old life. And I would love for you all to have that same sense of new life now. Rather than the focus on the toxicity, the poisons, the things you have to avoid, the fear, the danger, the grief, the complaining, the worry about finances, all of that small me details. And I don't mean to at all diminish grief from losing a loved one. But where that noise of the ego mind fed up with this gig, with COVID, and it perpetuating and getting worse than it ever has been with the Delta variant and the state I'm in, as well as many other states in the entire United States in particular. Let's burn all of that up, which is helping anything and everything that's blocking you from perceiving that we're actually entering a new era, a new golden age. And that's what's on the other side of all of this purification that's being done with so much pain and suffering. So anything and everything that wouldn't and doesn't allow for you to perceive the new dawn and the promise of the sweetness of the new era dawning, would you be willing to burn up with the flames of transmutation?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Have a couple
Yes.
cashews.
Yes.
I'll just cover them around.
Yes.
Okay. So this is an interesting place to go to start. All contracts, oaths, and vows across all lifetimes and timelines that's in any way keeping you tethered to suffering, to the old, to fear, to focusing on negativity, complaining, exhausted, all of those lower vibrations that are all around in the collective on planet Earth right now. Burning up anything and everything that from the contracts, oaths, and vows that's in any way created that or perpetuates that. It makes it harder for you, if not impossible, to access the sense of the new dawn, of the new golden age, both for you personally, if you so choose, and the collective. It's a good release out there. All karma as appropriate. Really good space holding many of you are doing on behalf of the collective. Really good anchoring. Being a bridge between heaven and earth. Thank you. Just for you as well, personally, individually. All free-floating thoughts and traumas. All imprints from your parents, in lineage, all conditioning from the trance of the masses that has you fatigued, exhausted, fed up, much more easily being blinded by the negativity and overwhelmed by the fear, the worry, the exhaustion that is in any way blocking you from perceiving the new dawn coming, burning all of that conditioning and influence from the trance of the masses and the collective up. And then within your own consciousness at all levels, all beliefs, judgments, evaluations, expectations, and projections that you've ended up with or have at all levels of consciousness that are in any way making it difficult, if not impossible, for you to access, perceive, know, be, and receive the new dawn that's coming for the new golden age. Burning all of it up now. See some shoulders dropping, tension leaving, really good. Some necks getting looser in the back of the throat chakra. Some hips loosening. This work totally affects your body. You may feel some tingling in the hands or feet, some heat, yawning, sneezing, coughing. All of those are normal. Tummy gurgling, little spots of pain throughout the body as the blockages have vital life force energy getting to them now from the opening. Yeah. Relaxation. Activating the upgrade now. Relaxation. So any and all keys and codes latent within you, and inherent talents, and ancient wisdom, and any and all blessings, and support possible to bring us all into alignment for your highest potential and highest possibilities, and for our highest potential and highest possibilities to become physically realized. Activating the upgrade now. It is possible that tonight's call might be all clearings and activations that I already came on sensing from you guys, because I was just really almost inundated with what you all need, the collective, and what would serve. So we'll see what we can do here with getting to those of you who have your hands raised from pressing *6. So what I want to go right into now is anything and everything that does not allow for you to choose this new dawn personally for yourself and take the necessary aligned action that actually ushers this in, free of self-sabotage, free of procrastination, free of pushing it away, allowing yourself to receive this new dawn, anything and everything that doesn't allow for all of that. Would you be willing to burn up with the flames of transmutation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes. So I'm going to do that again. Anything and everything that doesn't allow for you to choose this new dawn personally for you in your life, and then take the necessary follow-up, aligned, inspired action steps that actually usher this in. We're going to burn up anything and everything that doesn't allow for you to consistently, continually, increasingly choose this new dawn for you in your life. And then take the necessary inspired action steps, consistent moving forward into your new dawn. So all of the free-floating thoughts and traumas that in any way are blocking this, burning all of those up, please. This is going right at the front of the throat chakra. This is all about choice. Any and all free-floating thoughts and traumas that are in any way inhibiting you from actively choosing this new dawn personally for yourself, and then taking the necessary follow-up inspired action steps, burning up all of the free-floating thoughts and traumas that are in any way limiting that, restricting that for you. Because letting go of some stuff. All of the imprints from your parents and lineage. All of the conditioning. You shouldn't, you can't because you're a fill in the blank. You shouldn't, you can't, you're not able to choose it because fill in the blank. Bring all of that up from the conditioning, the trance of the masses. Why you can't choose. Also, I'm hearing burning up where it seems illogical. I know that one of my masterminders and then myself too within the last 48 hours were talking about how we've each just made an illogical choice, a seemingly illogical choice. More intuitively led. You know, how that lit each of us up. So where the choices you make have to be logical, burning all of that conditioning up or even imprints up that would hinder your ability to free yourself to choose your new dawn personally and then take the necessary follow-up inspired action steps. All of the karma as appropriate. All of the contracts, oaths, vows, swearings, across all timelines and lifetimes. Vows of service, including but not limited to. And at all levels of consciousness, all beliefs, judgments, expectations, and projections that would anyway hinder your choosing musculature from being strong enough for you to choose consistently a new dawn and then choose to take the follow-up inspired action steps for this new dawn based on what your heart's calling for, burning up anything and everything that doesn't allow for that with the flames of transmutation. A lot of grounding, earthing energy in this one. Seems like a great part to help bring all these higher spiritual aspirations down into your body in physical 3D life and reality. So 5D and 4D integrate. And you choose the new dawn and you bring in 5D and 4D. Burning up anything, everything doesn't allow for you to accurately perceive what I just said with grace and ease. Really clearing out self-sabotage and also very much where you're limited or restricted or you have heard your ego mind logically or reason out, I can't because I don't have the time. I can't because that won't work. I can't because I'm not good enough. I can't because I have to do this job to support my family. I can't because things will fall apart if I don't continue doing it this way. I can't because fill in the blank. It seems so much like netting coming off the throat. And the whole time of running this, I've had my hands at my throat. Just not consciously, they just went there. Good. A couple of you really just anchored some good energies into this. So activating the upgrade now. So any and all latent keys and codes within you, and ancient wisdom, and inherent talents, and any and all blessings, and support possible to bring this all into alignment for your highest potential and highest possibilities, and for our highest potential and our highest possibilities to become physically actualized, activating the upgrade now. I want to read to you something. I don't normally do this, and I really was thinking this is more appropriate for magic manifestation and money flow, but that was my logical mind. My guidance really wants to get this to you. So you're getting a transmission. Stay true and be in your power. You are a sovereign divine being with spiritual authority and freedom within you. You do not need permission from anyone to be who you are and live your life as you so choose. This is your divine birthright. Guard it as the precious treasure that it is, and remember that you are a divine being. So we're talking about divine royalty and dominion. And within each of us, we hold great dominion, spiritual authority, and freedom to be the sovereign ruler of our own self. This does not mean that we have to control life or others or even the environment around us, but it does give us complete and utter choice to become as spiritually awake, free, and self-determined as we wish to be, as well as providing us with complete choice as to what our values and actions will be this lifetime. There is no permission required from anyone apart from yourself to be and live your truth. There are many voices that will test you on the journey from illusory shackles of fear, loss, or abandonment that may hold you back or tempt you into giving your power away to others. You shall awaken from the testing into the realization of spiritual independence within. Of course, there is more to spiritual authority than just recognizing that it lies within you. There are times when you must act on it, guard it, and protect it, which means recognizing when others seek to exert influence over you for their own reasons, or when you are being manipulated out of your own authority, becoming blind to your own power of choice, and instead believing that things are just the way that they are and you cannot question or query. Sometimes during such challenges, to exert one's own spiritual authority requires that you stand your ground and remain true to your knowing. This is not about achieving a certain outcome or attempting to control something or someone or even forcing things to be as you wish they could be. Standing your ground means always telling yourself the truth and not selling out or giving away something that has genuine spiritual truth and meaning for you. It is not about making another see things the same way. It is about honoring your own truth. And if your truth is wise enough to include compassion, then honoring the other, even when the other disagrees with you or seeks to harm you out of their own fear. You do not have to challenge another in order to honor your truths and inner authority. If you feel that another has to agree with you in order for your authority to be intact, then it isn't genuine inner authority at all. The fact that you don't need to have the agreement of others in order to live an empowered life can be a liberating realization. Yet there are times when life can feel like an assault against your truths, with many challenging you. For those souls who have come to master spiritual authority this lifetime, there is a test to remain true without becoming dogmatic, to honor what you know is true without minimizing, judging, or dismissing the truths of another that are different to yours, but just as true for them. You have the power to create and own your reality, and you don't need permission from anyone else to do this. Honor your spiritual sovereignty. Find your spiritual authority and freedom of choice now. Seeking to hand over any responsibility for your own well-being to another can be a tricky and ultimately self-destructive path, even though it may seem to start off as relief of stress about some concern or other. You're being guided to take responsibility for your own health and well-being into your hands too. So listening to your inner truth as well as seeking consult as appropriate, whether it's about your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, or financial well-being. You are the final authority. And so I know that one of the things that has been supremely challenging Lana, I know that having, with all of the COVID noise of vaccines, non-vaccines, masks, not masks, blah, 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 there has been a lot of, I really think you should be handling it this way, and why aren't you doing this? And your choice is affecting me. Do you see that? You can also choose another way. You can choose to have your own inner sovereignty and then make choices that will lead to that, regardless of the discussions going on around you. Who's choosing what? So I see a lot of people holding themselves back by that tethering, that when we're in relationships or community or interaction with colleagues or people at the workplace or out in public, I have really seen through the years that when somebody is seeking to control another, it's because they lack just that much inner self-control for their own self-management. Where you're going to get the most free is from focusing where your power is, and that's on your own inner shifts. So anything and everything that has caused you to continue to want to change others and focus on what others are choosing, that is keeping you tethered and unfree, would you be willing to burn up with the flames of transmutation?
Yes.
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 All righty then. Any and all conditioning, all imprints from your parents and lineage. All free-floating thoughts and traumas. Traumas have a little bit of a nasty edge to them. You could hear that in my tone. That have an ability to make you perceive you're under the thumb of someone else or tethered to someone else. So burning all of that up too. That blocks you from seeing your own sovereignty. and freedom of choice. All karma as appropriate. And all contracts, oaths, vows, across all lifetimes and timelines. At all levels of consciousness, all beliefs, judgments, expectations, evaluations, and projections that is in any way creating limitation or perpetuating limitation to your own seeing of your sovereignty and freedom of choice, burning it all up now with the flames of transmutation. Including the cultural conditioning and the ego mind conditioning of seeing things the opposite of how they actually are. Like the inversion of, if I have control over you, then I'll feel safer. This fear will calm down if I can just control something, so let me exert that upon others. So paradigm, burning all of it up that you're willing to let go of now for your highest and best, with grace and ease. I'm going to ask this clearing to continue and run, in fact, for all of you beauties on the call live now, and those of you listening to the replay, whether you were on live or for the first time catching the replay, for the next 28 days. Again, 28 days tonight for the first time. Okay, well, we activate the upgrade now. So any and all latent keys and codes and ancient wisdom within you, and any and all blessings and support possible to bring this all into alignment for your highest potential and your highest possibilities to become physically realized and actualized, activating the upgrade now. So during this last one, I've had my hand on the back of my neck, the back of the throat chakra. So I'm going to remind/inform some of you who haven't heard this yet from me. Key to your power of choice is the 5th chakra. Go on my website and feel free to get that one. The Open the Drawbridge call, separate than this free monthly call, you'll have a link in the replay email if you want to go further and catapult yourself forward more rather than the monthly calls pacing. Now is a great time to do it, and I'd love to help more of you throw off that version for you of that old, big, heavy fur coat, full length. And on that note, it feels complete tonight. I don't typically not open up the call to anyone, and I apologize for that, but there were just so many clearings that came through serving the collective. I'm trusting that those of you who had your hands raised got served in the way that you needed. So much love, you all, and talk to you next month from the heart chakra of the planet. Bye.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you. I love you, Allison.
Good night. You're awesome.
Well, you are too. Night, y'all. Thank you.
Night.